So welcome, guys. It's David R. Becker here, back from Raleigh, North Carolina. And I wanted to thank a bunch of my donors. I did that already. I spoke about my donors. And I also said that next Thursday we will not have the Thursday night. And so Thursday night paint along because it is Thanksgiving. So we're not going to do it Thursday night. We're going to do it Wednesday night. And it's not going to be the black paper like I thought. I totally forgot that it's Thanksgiving next week. So we're not going to be doing the black painting until the following week. All right. Sorry about that. And also sorry about things crashing all the time. And this was not about crashing. This was about me not plugging in my sound system. Sorry. Oh boy, it's really good. And also for those people who want to know my supplies, and again, like I said, I'm going to cut the beginning of this out and I'll edit that in until later. So here's my supplies for all you newcomers. And here's my website for all you newcomers. Everything's on there that's going to be happening. We're going to be painting this tonight. The scene with black paint. We're going to use black because I wanted to do the black paint first and then go to black paper next week. But since it's Thanksgiving, we're not going to do that. So we're going to be going right into our value study here. And so here's what I did this afternoon. I did already this one right here. This is the painting I did this afternoon. And it's a little bit different. It's not as dark as this. But I want you to show you that the darkness of the scene is about the dark. Everything in this area is darker than the sky. And I kind of try to keep that to where the sky here, the light, and the sky up here was all the lights. And even though this is not as light as that, it's considered the darkest. Like I always say, the medium tones can go into the dark or the light. And so this is like more middle tone. I did have a little bit of light here that I kept from the sky a little bit. So you can do a little bit of that if you want. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure we get this glow. I want to get the glow. That's what it's about today. And about using black. And I want to show you how I use black and make it colorful. So again, sorry for not having the sound on when I first got on. It's always something. So we're going to toast. Good thing I didn't toast first already. So we're going to toast it's called La Tripe. So it's from Netherlands beer. And a quadruple Trappist ale. And so we'll see how this tastes. Oh, look, it's nice and dark. Ooh, terrible pour. Oh, where's my camera? Look at that. Oh, boy. I'm not doing that right. Okay, we'll wait for that until we toast and so let the suds go down in there. So let's get right to our tabletop and we'll let that settle. We'll let that settle and we'll go back in. Coming back into my studio, you always have to worry about what to hook up. And so here's what I did this afternoon. And so this afternoon we did this. I gotta get this beer out of the way so you don't get a shadow on there. Here's what I did this afternoon. And I made it a lot lighter than I had thought I was gonna make it, but I used a lot of black with color in it, and this makes it a gray. You know, it makes it a gray. So when you see that in my value study, most of this is all really, really dark. You don't have to make it that dark, but this is darker than the sky, so I just kept it at that. And what I'm really wanting to teach my class this afternoon and teach you guys, is that I want to show this brightness in here. I want to show Carl Bretsky, who I learned this from. He's an oil painter. He does a lot of scenes and sunsets and evening scenes. And what he did is he calls this optical scatter. And so it's like the sun is so bright, it's scattering the particles of the object. So it's like it's burning away the object, and so that's how bright it is. It's so bright that you make it that way. So we're going to do that, and we're going to use black. And again, because I wanted to show you how to use black and not have to mix your blacks. I know a lot of schools ask you to do that, but you don't need to do that. You can just pretty much get it by just using black and putting color into that. So all these colors, I use black in them, but look how colorful it is. I put blues and reds and oranges into my black, and it's just the same way. I think, that's how I think how the masters did it. And so the master can do it, we can do it too. And as you can see here, I left everything nice and light and red. And I may go with maybe a little bit stronger colors than this was more grays, but I will put a little bit more into the light. So we're going to start out right away from the beginning, and we're going to do our lights to dark. Again, sorry about the sound. It's just one of those things. Forgot to plug it in, or I actually got unhooked. It was on the power. I hooked it in, but the power on the actual soundboard was not on. Sorry about that. And so now I think we have time to. So a Netherlands beer. It's called. What is it called? La Trappe. So cheers, guys. Cheers. Let's see how this one tastes. No, 1 to 11. I always rate them. A little bitter, but not bad. I'd say about, oh, it's a little fruity taste to it. All right, so that's going to be about a, I'm going to give it about a 9 since I'm not really into IPA bitter beers, but it's not bad. 9. I'm going to say a 9. 9 paintbrushes. All right, let's get going here. Already wasted your time by not having sound on before. All right, so what we're going to do, yes, the scene itself is very dark, but if you want to lighten it up on your, if you have it on your computer, lighten it up and you can see a little bit more of that, or use my picture that I just showed, go back to that spot and take a screenshot of what I had done. You know, or I can do this again and then just stop the video and take a screenshot of this, and you can see I added some people. There are people in it, but I placed them around. And this time I'm actually going to put excuse me, I'm going to put umbrellas. I'm going to put umbrellas on these guys. I'm going to put one back there. And I'm going to put these lights on. And so I always change things around a little bit. But basically, as long as you keep all this dark and your sky light, you'll be fine. And so what I'm going to do is wet the whole background all the way through here. And remember, the lightest part of this painting is going to be the white sun. That is the whitest. And you cannot put anything on that white spot right there. Not even the yellow. You got to use the white of the paper. And don't put any white paint on that, because the white of the paper will be the brightest. And so that would be the brightest part. That is our light source. That's what's lighting this whole scene, is this part right there. And it's so vibrant that it's going to go right into this area and cut out some of the shape of that statue. And so we're going to just go like this. So this is in Prague. This is a bridge in Prague, the Charles Bridge. Someday I'll actually go there and see this thing. I painted it so much. Every class I've ever done has always done the Prague Bridge in some different ways or another. And so now I know I have a really dirty palette here because I did this afternoon. But again, I'm using a lot of black, so I can just go right in there. And anytime I want to get a fresh color, I just, go across it real lightly. Take my brush over it. And so I'm going to start out with yellow right around the sun. I'm just going to go right here. Just put it right where the sun's going to be, knowing that I got to keep this white. And again, for any questions for anybody who's new here, ask them on the chat, and I look up every once in a while to see. Why did you lighten it as much as you did? That wasn't on purpose to lighten it up that much. So Pam asked, why did I lighten it up so much as I did? It was not so much I thought it was going to be lighter. It just, again, us watercolorists, we always tend to not make it dark enough in the very beginning, and so that's what happened basically. So I'm going to make it a little bit darker and a little bit more evening on this one. Again, number one thing that artists do wrong, and beginners, myself included, is that we got to make it look wrong when it's wet. Make it 20% darker than you actually want it. If it looks right while it's wet, it's wrong because it's going to dry 20% lighter. It always does. So just go over it, and I'm going to try to make this one a little bit darker. But the sky will still be, I'm going to still try to make the sky pretty light. Bring the yellow across here. And maybe I'll make the sky a little bit darker. So what I'm going to do is now get with a salmon color. Go with a little bit of a salmon color across here. Bring that down across. I can go into the buildings now because that'll be darker. And as I go up, I'm going to go from a yellow to a red to a, you can go to a light blue, or you can go to a, like what do you call it? Lavender. A lavender, or a, and it goes from orange, kind of pinkish salmon color. And this is all wet, so I don't have to worry, but you guys did really great. I'm really amazed at you guys, how well you did with the cat and keeping things, and even last week with the mountains, keeping soft edges. How important it is to learn how to do that, making and keeping soft edges. Soft edges are not as easy as you think, and so it's hard for somebody to control enough pigment and make things only go so far, and actually drawing with your paint, drawing with the amount of paint you have, and in a wet wash. I'm going to make it a little bit darker this time. And again, this is going to dry 20% lighter. Remember, it's going to dry 20% lighter. It always does, and that's like I said, that's the hardest thing for students, and myself included, to sometimes kind of remember. It's like, how can I just keep on remembering so that I just leave it darker? Because right now, if it looks perfect, It's wrong because it's going to dry 20% lighter. So make it 20% darker than you think. And that is so hard for artists to do because we're looking at it and we're going, yeah, that's perfect. You know, but then it dries and then it's like not perfect anymore. So I'm going to make this a little bit darker. And I didn't put much orange in there. Maybe I can a little bit more orange right here. Oh, I still had violet in there. Thanks, Lynn, for donating. She donated some towels. That's really awesome. And last week, I remember it was my birthday last week, and so thanks to anybody who wished me a birthday wish. And it was a wonderful birthday. I was down in Raleigh, North Carolina. I didn't really tell anybody because I didn't want to stick out. So, but it was fun. So now we're going to go down right from there. So there's pretty much the sky, darker to lighter. And if you want to get it more, let's see, maybe a little bit more salmon in there. So I'm going to go with a pink and a yellow, orange I mean. Hey Lynn, you finally got to chat? All right, so start chatting. I'll be watching for your chats. Like I said, I look up every once in a while. I can't look up all the time, so I may forget. If I don't answer your question, just maybe ask it again. Because after it scrolls down, I don't really look up on top again. So if I didn't answer your question in the beginning and you want to ask it again because I missed it, that's fine. Just go ahead and ask it again. If it's that important, you will definitely want to answer it. So now I've got my sky done, and now I'm going to go right into down here. I'm just going to wet this area, which it was wet already, but I'm going to do it again. And this time, I want to make my street a little bit darker than I had last time. So I'm going to go right in here, put kind of the same colors in there, and I'm going to go pretty much gray, and I'm going to use, again, I'm going to use black today. And so I'm going to start out with black, and then I'll mix color into my black. You know, people think that it's a dead color. Yes, it's a dead color. It's a very gray and not that much color in there, right? And that's how come they always want you to mix it together. But what I do is I take my black and then I just take another color. Let's say I want to make it warm, put some red in it. You can start out with the black. That makes the color darker. And so that's really dark, right? I mean, it looks dark, but again, it looks right on my video. It's just like it's almost black. Really stone. It's not going to be that. It's going to be like gray when it gets done. I'm going to go right over my wall. Go right over the wall. I'm not doing my darks yet. You know, down here will be my darkest dark of the wash down here. Maybe I'll put some reflections right away into the street. And you're saying, I know you're saying right now, oh my gosh, that is so dark. What are you doing? I know. I'm kind of trying to put across the idea to you that you have to make it darker than what it is. It's just so hard to do that. And here I'm going to put there's people right there, so I'm going to put their reflection right in. Put the lamp's reflection in, maybe the reflection of the monuments here and the light post. And this is going to be side of the wall, which is going to be really dark, so I can go into that knowing I'm going to cover over that. And so I'm just kind of going back and forth, up and down, and it's going to make it look kind of wet. I did put some lines on the street here, but now you're going to notice that they're all gone because I can't see them. But that's okay. And I'm going to put a reflection right down here too. And as long as it's wet, all this stuff is going to get soft edge, and it's all going to easily blend into each other. So it's all going to be fine. So just keep it so it's wet, and then it'll do its own thing. It will just keep on wetting itself and wetting. That's a good one. So here, cheers, guys. Keeps on wetting itself. Cheers, guys. Why did you let? Okay, no more questions. Okay. So let's just keep on going here. As you can tell, I never script anything on my demos. All right, so let's see what else we got here. So this is now, I'm kind of stalling here because it's going to have to be dry now. Next week we're going to have to go dry. And so, I can't go right in here. It's going to take about maybe a minute or two for this to dry, this area. Because next thing, these are all my lights. And these are all the lights are done pretty much. And when I go back into my street here, you're going to see this is going to lighten up so much. And if I don't want to have these lines in there, I got to do it now. I got to go in with the same amount of water on my brush as is on the paper, and then I'm just pushing pigment around because my brush and the surface is about the same wetness. And usually it just means it's damp. You can tell when something's damp. You just push things around. Be careful with this because if you put too much water, of course you're going to get a watermark, and if you don't have enough, you're pulling things out. So your brush has to be the exact same wetness as the paper. And so here I'm just waiting now for this to dry a little bit. And what I can do is I can get these background buildings, and I'll have a soft edge, which will be okay. And now everything I do from this point on is my darks. I mean, this is my lights. These are my colors, the color scheme. And I'm going to get a really rich red and orange through here so that it's blasting through. When the sun is that bright and it's in your face type of thing, you just can see it as red, and it's white right there. Never touch that spot right there, which is white. Here it's going to be all dark, and I get all that in there. So this looks dark right now, but if you look closer up, see how it's starting to light? And then from a distance it looks a little bit darker, but it's going to dry pretty light. And again, that's why this painting had gotten so light, because when I put it down, it always seems a lot darker. And so then when you get done, it's like, I mean, it doesn't look bad that way, but you know, if you want it to be really dark like the photograph is, then I would have had to make it like twice as dark as this. And I still think this is okay, but like you said, I only did that because I didn't do that on purpose. It just became lighter because I didn't use enough pigment, enough dark pigment. I know this is all about black, but we don't do any. I put black in some of this with my violets, but I don't do the black where I just use black by itself from the get-go until I do my darks. Because that's what the darks are. It's gonna be black. Is that paper textured or is it my screen? Oh, it's textured. It's a Stonehenge cold press. You can see it's a little textured. It's got a texture on it. Stonehenge aqua, white. Oh, did I get out of focus? Oh, there we go. And again, I'm stalling, guys. Oh, it's all dry. Oh, there we go. So I'm gonna use as always, I always use my flat brushes for my rectangular shaped buildings. And so what I want to do is in the background, I'm gonna probably use a little bit of this violet, but this time I'm gonna make these a little bit darker and try to get things a little bit darker than what I did this afternoon. Again, I'm not sure that's going to happen, but we're going to try. It's so hard. Like I said, it's the hardest thing for me to teach and for our students to do. I could, in this area, put a little bit of orange in there, but I'm going to save it for this side. So this will be more grays. So I'm going to go in here. And it's still a little damp, so I'm probably get a little bit of that edginess to it. That little bit of, you know, where it's kind of a little wet look. But that's okay. We get good going here. And so I'm just going to, that's the top of the buildings. And now I'll wet through these monuments in front. And like always, once I have the water down, I can manipulate with other colors. I always put other colors in there. You know that from me so far, if you've been in with me. For your newcomers, I always put down water with a little bit of paint to get the outer hard edge, and then once inside is wet, that's when I start sculpting, and I start bringing in colors that I have somewhere else. So I'll bring in a little bit of the orange on this side, maybe closer to the sun, a little bit of orange, and as it goes over this way, and this can't be too dark yet because I've got to put the monuments on top of that to make it even darker. But like I said, it's going to try to make it lighter, so don't be afraid to make it look wrong and make it darker than what you think it's going to be. All right, so there we go from that part. Now I'm going to go around this lamp right here, and just because I want to keep that light, there's a lamp right there, and there's also a monument right there too. But now we're going to make this a little bit redder on this side. This building is a little bit red. The actual where you go through on the edge of the bridge, they have that little building here at the end. Gosh, I hope this is dry enough. So I hate to have those edges be not dry. Then you get those little fingers, and that's not a good thing. You don't want that. So let me go with a little bit more purple in here, a little bit more dark. Black, darken it up with black. Again, don't be afraid of using black. I know a lot of us have gotten this thing in us because we've been to art school and we've been told time and time again, mix your blacks, do this, never use white. Do whatever it takes to make that painting look good. You know, I mean, Sargent used white and black, and so did Andrew Wyeth. And I figure if those guys, you know, who are masters, can do and use black and white, go ahead and use it. You know, it's not going to be the end of the world. And you're not going to get arrested. It's not illegal to use it. Maybe from the watercolor police. But, so here I just did use one color, and I see a little bit of edge there. It's not totally dry, but dry enough. So if that happens, what you do is you just use more pigment. Again, pigment stops it from running. The more pigment you have on your brush, the less it's going to run into that wetness or that dampness because it's in more pigment. So I'm going to go down here, kind of cross into that. Put a little bit of orange on the bottom part. And again, look at this picture right over in this area here. I'm going to put a lot of like bright orange there because that's where the sun is hitting the side of that building. So I can even put in pure red. And here's my Scarlet Lake. So a little bit of red on this side. Anything to show what's happening over on this side where this light is. And I can even at the very edge put even a little yellow. Just like it's burning right here. It's just really bright. Not so light that it's taking away the part of the building. It's just it's influencing. The color is being influenced by how close the sun is over here. And then we're going to get a little dark. And that light will be right there. Now I wanted to keep that opening here to be a little bit lighter, like you can see into that, like you can see through that building, like you see the background. So I'll make that a little bit lighter. I did have people right there, but I'll make them darker then. The other things, there's actually a sculpture right there, a monument, that will be darker than that. So that's pretty dark, but it'll be darker than that and with a little bit of red tones. All right, I don't like this line here because you don't really see that much of a line. So I'm gonna dip in here a little bit with a little bit of the color. And so that I don't need to see the difference between this and this. Later on I can put like the top of that wall there and I can separate, but I want that to be one kind of wash over there. I don't want it to feel like they're separated. You can do that, like here I did it a little bit because it's separated a little bit, but I'd rather have it not separated because I want it to be pushed back. And I think this could have been a little bit darker in here, or the roof could be a little bit darker to match that a little bit so it matches a little bit more. So now I'm going to go into the background over here. And I'm going to start with a yellow because these buildings back here are really close to the sun. So I'm going to start with a yellow and burn it out almost here. And as it goes away from that area, I'm going to get darker, a little bit more orange. And then the pole on this scene will be right through that later on. I'll put that in there. And that'll be a red. Like that'll be like that. It'll be a red. But right now I just want to have these parts. And knowing that I'm going to go really dark with this stuff, I don't have to go all the way to the edge because there's going to be a lot of that going to be showing through there. All right, and so while I'm waiting for this, I want to make sure this is totally dry. And it is not quite because I'm going to get a little rough edge like right here. So I'm going to go and do this wall real quick, really dark, because I've got the same color right there anyways in my palette. So I might as well go right away up here, go a little bit darker. And this is the side of the wall. Going kind of with the red over there, red and some blue. What is my opinion of Daniel Smith neutral tint or any other neutral tint? They're good. I use Holbein neutral tint, and it's just like a gray, a really dark grayish, almost black. It's almost black, but yeah, no, it's good. I find that I like it, and you can use that just like you do use black. Add color to your neutral tint, and then you can make your neutral tint go towards more of a warmer neutral tint or a warmer or cooler neutral tint. So yeah, it's fine. And Daniel Smith, I just got to remember that I use Holbein only because it doesn't dry out. Daniel Smith, they put Oxcal in their work, so you have to put in fresh each time. You know, you should be putting in fresh so they don't. You want to be able to have enough pigment because you need pigment to control everything, like we talked about with when we're doing wet into wet washes, and you want to control it. You need fresh pigment. You cannot do it with dried up pigment when you have those little clumps. And so Daniel Smith and Winsor Newton and Core and all those are great paints, but you can't let them dry to a hard clump because you can't and then can't pick up the amount of pigment that you need. I use Holbein because I don't use Oxgall. Then you don't have to worry. I squeeze the whole tube into my palette, and then you can just, it rejuvenates instantly. Actually, instantly. It's amazing how instant it does it. So I'm going to take a little bit of black into this wall, and I'm just going to put black on top of some of the color that I put here, because I want it really dark, the wall. And then later on, I'm going to put another reflection into the street again. And I'm making it lighter as it goes back here. I can make it duller too, but then I'm going to put the things on top, all this little sculpture and stuff. Alright, so now we're going to go with my small brush because we're going to go right into here. And now I'm going to start out with solid black. Solid black, I'm just going to take the solid black, and I am going to put my glasses on for 1 second. So, do I even have them with me? Oh no. Oh yes, we have them. Sorry. Because when I'm doing smaller things, I got to be able to see the sharp edges and stuff. So I'm going to put my glasses here, and we are going to go in and start out with this top of this sculpture. You find that it makes it look somewhat antique. Yeah, it all depends on how you use it. You know, I mean, neutral tint is just like almost like a black, and it has more of a grayness to it instead of a solid black. Like this is just solid. This is the black I use is peach black, and it's like a warmer black. But that doesn't matter for anything, is because I'm putting other colors in there. You know, I'm putting all kinds of different colors in here, but I start out with just solid black. Then once I wet it, and as I'm talking here, I'm forgetting that this has to be red. Okay, so let me just wipe a little bit of this out here because I need to get to red. I'm going to wet this area. And so what I'm going to do is take fresh water. Well, water is always fresh, right? I mean, the part that I didn't go into yet. I'm going to wet this area. And so I'm going to get a soft edge here. So I have to wet beyond where I'm going to be painting. And I'm going to have so that the water will, or the pigment will only bleed out so far. So I'm going to take a pretty big amount of yellow again and orange. Just take yellow. And I will come down here and make this burned out area soft edge because I wet it, right? I wet it. And so then if you want to help it along with a little bit of water, you can do that. But you have to realize that if there's water there, sometimes it takes a little bit longer depending on how much paint you put in there to make it look soft edge right there. A lot of times people are impatient. What they do is they then put a little bit more water there, and then they put too much water, and then next thing you know, your soft edge is just bleeding away. And so don't be patient with your washes. They'll get soft. If it's wet in the wet, it will get a soft edge, because that's the only way it can do it. I mean, it's a wet area, so you only can get soft edges. You can't get a hard edge in the soft. You can get a harder edge if you use a lot of pigment, and then it's a little bit hard, but it's still going to be soft, but not quite as soft as if you use a lot of water and let it run a real lot. So here, see, we're just going to go in here and get some orange. I'm using red, orange, and yellow. And on this side, and again, this drawing should be pretty decent for the look of this sculpture right here. You want to make sure that you get it looking good. So again, drawing is number one. Putting a little bit of yellow right here. And as it goes away, as you can see down here, it kind of burned it out right there. Then I can go and start getting hard edges again. And what I do is I start out with the light, and I'll just wet it with light. And then I'll add dark as I go down. And I'm going to just kind of make up, because I can't really see exactly. But I've done these sculptures enough to know how the bases look on these things. It's amazing how many times I've done this bridge. And so I'm going to wet it all down here. I'm wetting it all the way down. Now let's add some pigment. Let's sculpt in there. Let's take black, and on the bottom here we're going to take black and it's going to be a hard edge against the wall. And then just use thick amount of pigment and control your pigment and learn how to get a soft edge and control that edge. You've done it last week with the kitten, and I am just absolutely floored that you guys did it. And I really love the fact that you guys tried it and not give me hard edges. It's so hard to do that, losing edges, but once you get it, boy, that's what's going to get you the prizes. When you get those soft edges, you're going to give your work emotion. That's what you want to do with your work, emotion. Not everything hard edged. And hard edge is okay. I mean, it has a certain look to it when you have hard edges. Everything hard edges. But if you can get a little bit of both, that's what you want. Well, I always do this, always one thing. Do a couple of different things in your painting. Now I know there's a lot of red in the photograph, but I'm not going to put as much of it into this sculpture. I'm going to leave it a little bit right in that area so it really looks bright right there. And then I'm going to go down and do the rest of this and just keep it going with the orange. And again, always towards closer to the sun, it's going to be the brightest and the most vibrant of the colors. So I'm taking this bright yellow and orange and putting it right here. Put a little water on my brush so it'll flow. What you can also do is take your brush and just take and wipe it, like see I'm wiping it, and I'm going to add some color to that as I go along. And if you feel it's not bright enough color, then just put red and orange right in there. It's wet now, and so I can do that. See, I'm just going to go around, getting it lighter right here. Oh, that was a little bit too dark right there, because right here it's got to be nice and light. And you notice I'm not using white. Don't use white when you're doing this type of thing. White you got to use as a paper. You got to use that white of the paper to get this. White that you're using will make things more pastel-like, and I don't want more pastel-like. I just want dark edges, or a vibrancy of the color will also make it pop forward. Putting white with will make it lighter, but sometimes will also make it more a pastel color, and that's not going to make it bright. It's going to make it pastel-y and kind of like more of a gray, matter of fact. That's what pastel colors kind of are. They're like the lavenders are kind of like a grayish color. It's not a vibrant color. It doesn't make it more vibrant. Now this sculpture right here, I'm going to wait until this is all dry. I can't do that right now. But now let's go right into my lamp. I'm going to take the lamp and start it out up here dark, just like I did this sculpture. Got to come down here. And then in the middle there, I'm going to go in with my orange and yellow. Put some water on it so I can pick up some vibrant. Again, it's about how much pigment you pick up. And if you want it vibrant, see this yellow? I got to pick up pigment. That's how come having no oxgall in there doesn't harden the paint. So you pick up pure pigment again, and it's just, it never dries. You got to figure you're never going to waste any paint when you use whole lamp paints, because it doesn't dry to a clump, and so you'll always have it workable. You can always work that paint. So here I'm going to take out a little bit of this and let it be more yellow right in the center here. And then later on I'll do the darks. I'm getting to the dark blacks. See, I'm working from black, or from the light, and just working to where I get to my black. Really darks. And now I'll put a few of these lines in here for the lantern up here I want to put in. Alright, put this in this way. Do you think using a lot of black ages the painting? I don't think so. I did those paintings this weekend, or last week. I don't know if you saw when I was in Raleigh, I did a couple paintings on black paper, which we'll be doing in a couple weeks. But I don't think it makes it antique looking. I think it just makes it dramatic. It's very dramatic when you use black, especially if you use a lot of black, a lot of white. And look what I did over there. I put a little puddle on there. Darn it. Ooh, I caught it in time, I guess. Right there, spattering. All right, now with the foliage over here, I'm just going to start putting my darks in there. And again, with foliage, I'm going to start out with the lighter parts of the foliage, which would be my reds and oranges and yellows. And so how you get foliage, it's a lot of different ways of doing that. I can either dab it, dot it. You can use a sponge, funny brush, all those different ways that we always talked about. There's many ways of doing foliage, and pick something that you like. I usually just like painting it in and dabbing my brush. You know, just dabbing it down and getting it look like leaves. And then here, I want to get a little more. Again, it still has to be darker than the background or than the sun, so it's nice to have it looking yellow and orange leaves right here. And then I'm going over the lamppost because I can come back later with a dark next to it. And what I did in this painting, let me show you, is I kind of juxtaposition so up here I go dark against the light, and down here it's light against, or dark against both light on both sides. And then what I did is I kind of cut through the middle of this so that I have a little bit of like a rim lighting on there. I can even put it on with white paint, but I'd rather not. I'm going to try to do this one without adding white paint to it. And so you can see there's this, image right there. We'll get that in there right there once it's dry. And then we'll put people in. But first right now we got to get these, the light foliage. This can be over here. Okay. Now let's get black. And when I use black, I can use black with the color, so it's not so super. I can go with a green kind of color black, and then once it's wet, like anytime, even if I'm using black like this, even if it's wet, what I do is I kind of go back in then and then float some other colors in there. I don't need to just leave it that one color. I never do that with other colors, so why would I do that with black too? I mean, I have it wet now, and now I can go in and kind of float a little bit of the. No, I just went into my lamp. Talking too much here. And so how do I get rid of that? I want to rub that out real quick. Went into my lamp here a little bit. There we go. So I'm gonna a couple leaves here. I can make a couple really dark ones. See now the leaves that are the colored leaves are behind, because the sun is back there, so the back leaves are the ones that are going to be the colorful ones, the red ones and the orange ones, and what's closest to us will be the dark leaves and the dark foliage and all that kind of stuff. And so let's see, let's go down here and I'm not sure why I'm using such a small brush. We're gonna get this done if I use a small brush like that. So now we go in. Black, wet water. I'm gonna come down. Blend everything, lose my edges. If you don't know what something is happening in some areas, lose the edge. Just let the edges be in there, and they can be a little bit of everything. You don't need to have like particular thing that you're trying to paint in there. You're just trying to do a kind of a abstract looking wash. You can just like around this pillar here, around this pole, you can then. What you can do, look at how terrible that is. Yeah, let me put this side here. Maybe get a little bit more of the orange. There we go. We'll make that dark there later on. And now we're just going to give a couple. So it looks like I didn't do as much lighting through this area. I kind of would have liked to have a little bit where you can see through the trees, which you see right up there in the photograph. And so let me show you a little trick. Maybe I use a palette knife. You can use a palette knife, and I can just scrape away some of the dots in there. Like you can scrape away the look of inside through the tree. And you're not going to get a perfectly white area, but you can just scrape away the pigment. And the more pigment you use, the easier this is to do, because you're basically scraping away some of the pigment there. I can even do the side edge of the post. I could do it like this. I don't want to get too crazy with that. Now I did too much of it. So what you do if you get too much of it, you just put it back. You know, because you're not really scraping the paper so much as you are just scraping the paint off the surface. You're scraping off the surface of it. I use a side and all different kinds of. They make all different kinds. They even have this kind. You know, what else do we have here? We have this kind. You know, you can use any different type of. What is it? I think I have one that's a real thin one. I think I have this one. So there's all different types that you could use to scrape. I'm trying to find the one which is flat. I don't think I have that one here. So this is a really sharp one. I think I can go without with that. You can just kind of go real thin lines in there. And you can use the side of it to scrape big areas. See, like you can scrape a big area away. So I know they're used for oil painting, but hey, you know, us watercolors can use them too. All right, so that's gonna let that dry. Now let's get over here again. By this time it should be dry. Now I gotta get those little guys in the corner over here, the little sculpture over there. I'm gonna start out with the red one on the left. I'm just gonna make that reddish dark. I don't know if that's a color reddish dark, but it's a dark red, right? I'm just gonna go in here and kind of fake the monument. It's too far away to actually see what is happening there. As long as you make it look kind of like some kind of sculpture, that'll be fine. And the side of that wall will be darker also. So that's one. Then we're going to get a little bit darker, make it just slightly darker. Red, maybe an orange on the side. Again, just see how it's a little bit darker. If you had a picture, you could actually tell what the shape is of those. That's fine. You can do it a little bit more, but I'm doing this as more of a loose kind of plein air type of look where it's very loose. Here we have a lamp, another lamp, and so I'm using my smaller brush because I'm getting the detail. This is dark details now. I mean, I've gotten to that point where I don't have any more big things. It's all little stuff now. Here at the top of this lamp, I'm gonna put a couple of lines through there. This post I can put in right away. And that has a base to it also that sits on top of the wall. And then one more over here, solid black. And while I have this really fine brush, I might as well put some of these antennas and poles and the lightning rods on here. Put one of these head across, so maybe put the cross in there. And I've painted this bridge so many times I kind of almost know what some of these sculptures are, these monuments. I think they're saints across the bridge, I'm not sure, but I should check into that one day. And so then when it comes across the side part of that bridge, this part is not going to be quite as dark as this side here. I'm just going to put this across. I'm going to go right through the people. And the top edge will be a lot thinner than you can see this one. But a little bit just so you can see that's the edge of the edge of the wall. And I'll put those people once it dries. Now this sculpture, or monument, they keep on saying sculpture. It's more of a monument. So we're going to make it start out with black, and then we'll go to red because this one is going to be a lot closer to this area. So I really want to get some red in there. And this one, and I lost my drawing completely. So I'm going to look at the picture real quick and see that it goes above this lamp. And so it starts right about here. I'll start with a dark. Tina, you retracted a message? You can talk. Did I miss something? I'm always watching. Tina always watches out. What was I missing? So the sculpture right here. I'm going to leave the edge so it doesn't look like it's part of the lamp. I'm going to go down here, and now I'm going to try to go into... See, I did do a bright red there, so I'm going to have to go even brighter or darker red or brighter right here. Leave a little bit of an edge there. And go right back to dark. It's floating. Things are floating in here. So I'm back again, guys. Sorry about that. Here we go again. My thing constantly quits, so I'm going to be going into my to the application that I'm using for this thing, and no, guys, it's not you. You guys, I know you guys froze. The picture froze, but it's my application, my bright application. It just keeps on freezing for some reason, and just going away actually, and then I got to come back and make it work again. So sorry about that again. Boy, it's always something. I'm gonna have to talk to them about that. Why it keeps on dropping. It keeps on authorizing me to not be in there. So sorry about that. Here we go. We'll keep on going. Hopefully it won't drop again because I'm not sure why it does that. Don't know why. I updated the application. And of course, when you update something, there's always a problem with that. So I'm going to have to find that out. Anyways, let's keep on going here. And we're going to go in here, get a couple of these things. Have to get a little bit more red in here. Because it's closer to this area right here. It's closer to the sun. So that's going to be a little bit brighter. And now let's go right into the people. And I did... put some bricks on there. But first I want to put these people in. and so we're just gonna make them dark. I'll do the David's dab type of people, right? Dab in the torso and give it a little bit of color. Maybe they have red on here. I'll give them. I did give them an umbrella. I'm gonna maybe not give them an umbrella because they really don't need one. It's not raining, so they don't need to have an umbrella up. All right, boy, I'm really these people with these updates. It's 3 times in a row that's happened since I've had the new update for this program, the broadcasting program that I use. And each time now it drops. It's like it just goes away. Okay, I decided to put umbrellas back in. What the heck? It just kind of looks kind of cool. I'll put a little person back here. Maybe put a little person there. And so again, it's like the, I don't know, have we done David's dab people yet, or do I still have to do one of those exercises where we learn how to do the gestures of people? And now we're going to get the details in this lamppost. We're going to go with a really nice dark down here. Real quick, put the dark in there, get the lamppost going. See, I'm using solid black. I always start with solid black, but then once it's down to solid black, then I go and I take another color and float it like I do everything else, you know, when I float the pigment. So I can do the edge of this nice and dark, and we can kind of put the edge in here. And we can actually, I'm going to scrape out a little bit with my brush, sorry. So we're going to go in here. Oh, I forgot one of these. Alright, let's get this a little bit darker right here. It can be bright red right here. Now we're going to get the street and we're going to get the reflections. So reflections are not shadows. I'm not doing shadows of the thing. I'm doing, well, actually I can put a few shadows on of them across the, so this is a shadow first, okay? We can put a little bit of shadow, but not only shadow, but I also put reflections. Shadows go away from the sun, you know, opposite when we were throwing it. And so, but I want to put a reflection, and the meaning that a lot of times, even if a street is dry, but because it's like these are pavers type of thing, or even a street, a lot of times they look wet because of how shiny they are. The pavers are been gone over so many times they kind of look wet, and so, and even with blacktop, a lot of times things tend to look like there's a reflection because it's reflecting, because it's shiny. It's like it's wet, but it's not wet. It's just shiny. So you're going to put a little bit of this wall reflecting into the street, and then the posts. And so this is going to be hard edged, but because it just tints, it's going to look like it'll look like just a reflection. And so I'm putting that in there. Not as dark as the object above it. I'm just going to put a little bit. And again, it's hard edged, but because it's not so very contrasty, it'll look fine. And I'm looking at, hold on, let's see here. And now the final thing will be to do reflections in the street here of these people. You can put that in back here also, and put a little bit of the reflection in there, which I did in the very first one I did with it when it was wet. But here I can also do it while it's dry, and just again not too contrasty, just enough to make it look like it's reflecting into the street. And now the shadow, I kind of went away because the shadow was darker than the reflection. So I'm gonna go over that and then put the shadow in there later again. Now with the cobblestone, what I do is I first do the lines, and I have them drawn. I'm not sure if you can see this. I have them drawn real lightly. You can see there's line to show me the cobblestone a little bit. I can still see some of it. So what I'm going to do is I will try to first put the lines back in, and then make some of them look more than a line. It'll be like the whole brick. So I'm going to put a couple of lines going down, like this is maybe the side edge, maybe. And then I'm going to use the same colors that I used there, which is kind of dark, more of a blue, grayish blue. And so I'm going to make these lines, and randomly I'm just going to pick up my brush now and then and see if I'm going to put in these lines. I'm going to try to go over what I did, but I don't have to go exactly there. Just going to kind of put in the lines of the pavers. But you have to watch out, the next lines that go up and down, those have to run towards the perspective. So this line right here show me the perspective of that, and so I'm going to put a few right there. Get smaller, of course, as you go back. Here I put a few in there. And now I'm going to start going with the lines and always juxtaposition here or there. I'll just keep on going back and forth. And I'm not doing all of them. I'm just going to do some here and there. But always follow that line. Don't make these up and down, not the ones that are going down the street. These can go straight across, that's fine. I'm going to put a few up here. Make them a little skinnier. And then put little lines going towards, see this would be running this way a little bit. And I put the lines the way they're running. And you can just randomly put lines here and there too, because they're so far away. Some of these, it's hard to see. You don't really actually see the lines, and you can just put little dots in there. But down here, you do want to put them in a little bit more where you can, because you see them. So here you can spend some time in making each one go in the direction that's supposed to, like perspective-wise. I'm going to show you next how to make some of those actual bricks and go in there and actually color in a couple of bricks here and there. Because these are the grout lines of the bricks, but then you can also have see the lines I got in there now, and actually looks like there's none right here, so I'm gonna put a few right here. Sometimes if you see, and if it looks like there should be some there, then definitely put them there. And you don't have to put, like I said, you don't have to put them all in. But now I'm gonna take my 1/4-inch brush, and what I'm gonna do is I am going to. Also, I just remembered that a few of you ordered some of my brushes, and I sent you the wrong amount and stuff. I will get those out to you tomorrow. Coming back from Raleigh, I just started putting all the things together, and I thought I'd put them all right, but it looks like I didn't, and I'm always worried about that. But don't worry, I'm going to send you an extra brush if you ordered a brush and you didn't get it, or I sent you too many. Just keep them, and those that you didn't get your amount, just wait, and I'll get you some more brushes. Here now, see, it's a little bit darker. Let me show you a little closer up. You can see what I'm doing here. So what I'm doing is I did the lines, but what I do is I fill in some of them so that you see the edges a little bit away from there. And I just do a few here and there. You don't have to do all of them, but I kind of go in this area and kind of do some randomly. You can also put them in randomly here and there too. So it just seems a little bit more like, you know, there's, you can see the edges. So you just kind of do the edge, the top and the right edge, left edge, I mean. You just kind of put in a little edge there, and it looks like they're like thickness to them, and they're rounded on the edges and stuff. And here I'm just going to put little dots, because they're so far away up here, you just kind of, I'm still going to put in the shadow here. I went over that shadow, but I'll put the shadow back in. All right, and now this wall also has lines in it, and I'm going to put a little bit of a grate in here so that it's just like a little, where the water goes down into the grate, and you can just put it in. I know it's not probably even there, but knowing streets and stuff, it's nice to have a little something there. Now this wall can be a little bit darker right here. Looks like it could be a little. This wall also has bricks on it, so you can do the same thing here with this wall. It has, on the actual picture, you can see lines, so I'm going to go with black lines. Oh, it's 7:30 already, but we kind of got screwed up a couple times, so we're going to go a few more minutes here, and we'll be all done. Try not to keep it, and I will go back in and edit it, so when you're looking again, don't worry about, I will be editing out all the beginning with no sound. And of course, when we froze, that won't be there anyway, so same thing with this. I've juxtapositioned some of these bricks. Again, you can see them a little closer up. I'm going to do this type of thing. We're kind of go in juxtaposition, and then take my rectangular brush, or I'm going to take my bigger, these are bigger bricks, so I'm going to take some of these colors, and then I'm going to go across them, and I'm just going to make the brick darker. Because some bricks are darker, some are lighter, And so I'm just going to go across and just try to get the same kind of perspective of the edge of them. Otherwise, it starts looking weird if you just have lines going like anywhere. You definitely want to hold your brush like straight up and down so you can actually make them like the perspective that you drew them. Oh, one more thing. I almost forgot. The top of this wall is way too bright, right? And so we're going to take a little bit of the shadow color, maybe a little lavender from the sky, and just kind of go underneath them here and there, like where it's reflecting. The sun's going right there, so right there would be a shadow. So I get a little bit of that, and then also just wipe a little bit of it off anyway, because it seemed a little pretty bright. All right, there. And then one thing I will do, I noticed that because I didn't leave white, or I didn't put in, I'm going to take some white paint and do some reflections of the people, on the people. So I'll take yellow and white, and what I'm going to do is usually on the top of their shoulders what shows light. So on the top of their shoulders usually, because it's towards the light, and so I'm going to put a little bit of a reflection there using white and yellow. I'm not just using pure white because there's so much yellow in the picture, so I'm just kind of putting the top of the shoulders a little lighter, side of their head, side of the umbrella, and that's pointing towards them. I'm giving a little bit of a hint of light through there, and maybe even on the side of this little lamp post here. I'm going to hit a couple of spots there to look like it's lit up. Here a little bit. Now I guess that is opaque, and so watch out for that. I mean, I know it's opaque, but it's okay. You know, again, you're not going to get arrested or anything like that, unless you have some watercolor police around you. All right, so I think that's pretty much going to be it. Let me see what else. Anybody see something? Any color in the lanterns? Yes, thank you. That's a good idea. Color in the lanterns. I can put a little bit of orange so that just like around the center, because the brightest part would be the center of the lantern that's lit up, and around that would be a little bit darker. So you're gonna kind of keep it a little bit like that here too. Just keep the center light, and then put a little bit of the orange. Anything else? Rust. What's rusty? So here we're gonna put a little bit dark line here, because this is a soft edge. So I'm gonna put that a little bit harder. Couple lines. This is our center of interest, so I can make this a little bit harder right there. And then I think that's it, guys. We're gonna be good for this week. Everybody, I'm hoping you have a happy Thanksgiving next week. And again, we are doing next Thursday. Paint along is not happening on Thursday. It's happening. The paint along is happening on Wednesday night, 6:30 on Wednesday night, and it will not be the black paper, which I was gonna do because I totally forgot it was Thanksgiving. So I still want to do it on a Thursday night when we do the black paper. It'll give me a time to get another, because I did pick something out, but I'm thinking that maybe that's not good enough, so we'll go for another one. I'll keep on looking. I'll give me a little more time to look. All right, so let me take the tape off, and we'll be good for another paint along. Another paint along that went away, and I'm gonna have to find out why it's going away. That's absolutely ridiculous. I pay a lot for these apps, and then they update, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, it doesn't work right because you updated it, and that's not a good thing. I don't want to be freezing every time and having to go into that. Doesn't make for a good video. All right, so show me your stuff that you guys are doing. Post them on my Facebook page and the BeckerArt group, and have a happy Thanksgiving, guys. And also, thanks for submitting a bunch of your work or ideas. I'm always looking for ideas. Thanks a lot. I may not use every one of your ideas. I'm looking to things to do with your ideas, and maybe it's not going to be next week or week before, but a couple of you gave me some really great ideas, but it's going to take a time until I can get them into the round and to what I'm doing, because I always try to figure out what I'm doing and then have it incorporate the picture and stuff. But we've got a couple of really nice things happening. All right, so until next time, until next Wednesday. And I'll tell you happy Thanksgiving then too. All right. So cheers, guys. See you next